Hello everyone. My name is Jorge Mendoza, and here I am with Jairus Balisay, Matthew Espinosa, Lance Pascual, and Nilo Pile. And we are Group 4 from the section A7. Today we will be talking about the analyzation of the book entitled Cengage Advantage Ethics, Discovering Right and Wrong, written by Louis P. Parchman and James Pfizer. This presentation will consist of two main questions which will be discussed by my group and I. The first question asks us to cite three main essence of ethics in our lives as a person and global citizen. This question will be discussed by me, Lance, and Matthew. The second question, which will be discussed by Nilo and Jairus, asks us about how we view freedom and how this applies in our world today. So, without further ado, let us start with our first main essence, which is social contract ethics. Social contract ethics is defined as the society being one. It is about individuals giving up some of their rights for the benefit of society. An example of this would be how people would follow the rules in a society. Yes, it's true that doing this loses some of our freedom to be able to do anything, but this will maintain the peace and order in a society. A specific example of this would be following the rules on academic integrity and honesty. So, no cheating, no giving away of answers, and yes. So, how will this affect our society? Having students practicing on how to be truthful and not cheaters now will help our society in the long run, because this will mold them to be truthful and good citizens. So, how will we solve the issue of corrupt politicians in the Philippines when our future, the student and the kids, are already practicing to be corrupt just by cheating? So, a way we can help our society is to follow the rules on academic integrity and honesty. Another specific example would be following the road rules, such as stopping when it's a red light or going when it's a green light. Doing this will maintain road safety in our society. Following heavy laws such as stealing and killing others is also a good example of social contract ethics, because even though we all have the freedom and power to do these things, we choose not to for the sake and safety of our society. Thus, social contract ethics teaches us to be a person for and with others.
Another main essence of ethics is values. The ethical value theory indicates that doing virtuous acts can improve moral character, which is essential for our lives. Having the right character traits could possibly develop ourselves for the sake of the people of society. This theory connects utilitarianism, deontology, and virtue ethics. Examples could be people doing moral acts as they find the happiness they want. People are also receiving duties from the society to which they think is morally right or wrong. In addition, having the right character traits in our lives creates a big impact on ourselves and on other people. Moreover, ethical value theories have created learnings for the people who need improvements as they find what is morally right or wrong in their acts.
The third main essence of ethics is care ethics. Care ethics is an ethical theory that emphasizes the importance of relationships and compassion in moral decision making. Care ethics places value on the emotional aspects of people. This theory suggests that ethical behavior arises from caring for others and nurturing relationships. For example, imagine a nurse working with elderly patients in a nursing home. Then, one of the patients is terminally ill, so he wants to spend more time with his family. But according to the rules, one could strictly only visit during visiting hours. And this is not enough for the patient since he wants to spend time with his family even outside the visiting hours. Now, approaching this situation using care ethics would mean that the nurse will allow the family to visit the patient outside visiting hours, since it is what the patient wants, even if it breaks the rules. This would mean that care ethics focuses on the patient's desire to spend time with his family. Care ethics encourages a more caring response that considers the relationships and feelings of individuals.
Freedom. What comes to mind when the word is uttered? Freedom as a whole can often be easily misunderstood. Its definition varies depending on the individual. One particular note in Chapter 4 that I find very significant is that we do not have control over our own values. In the same way, for example, we choose between different programs in university or whether to purchase a Yum Burger or a one-piece chicken meal when visiting Jollibee. We, as human beings, value pleasure, health, love, and happiness. We also find ourselves avoiding pain and suffering due to how unpleasant they are, right? Jean-Paul Sartre argues that our fundamental values are not chosen by us, but choose us instead, and that these values develop within us through our human nature. He quotes, "Freedom is what you do with what's been done to you," which can be interpreted as the definition of freedom being the actions we do in response to certain scenarios or situations brought upon us. According to Jean-Paul Sartre, human beings are characterized by radical freedom. This means that as individuals, we can make choices and decisions on our own without being forced by our nature or outside influences. Unlike plants, for example, which have a sole purpose of only undergoing photosynthesis and reproducing. We are not stuck with a singular and specific way of being. Our main takeaway from this is that we all technically have the freedom to do whatever we wish, but it is through our own values and morality where boundaries and limits are set. Our pursuit for good and happiness while avoiding pain and suffering are what I think a majority of our foundations are when it comes to freedom.
After reading this chapter 4 of the book, it basically pertains as to how moral goodness varies individually due to us having our nature and all other factors like values in conflict with each other. To put it simply, our moral goodness is rooted in values that weighs the greatest on us. With that, a new perspective comes to mind that as freedom is a choice not just of oneself, but of the collective experiences and values we gain from the environment we immerse ourselves with. For example, in political campaign period, we are given the opportunity to learn about our future leader and have the right to be one of the people appointing them. However, some did not value the campaign seriously, hence decided to vote what's convenient, particularly indulging in a vote buying, sacrificing future for temporary convenience. Another instance is human activities to environment. Of course, improvements and innovations are necessary. However, it is also evident how these need for advancement of humanity is detrimental to environment. So a question here, would you rather build infrastructures for advancement in economy, but in the expense of gradually and permanently deteriorating parts of the world? Of course, no, must be the obvious and morally correct answer. Yet, countless people, even those who graduated with higher education, have failed to stick in with that value because of other purposes, particularly for personal gains. Now, with all the things I mentioned and the examples cited, we can verify how true what the book has talked about, that despite the values we have, it isn't constantly the driving force of our action, as there will be values that weighs more than the other, may it be morally good or bad.
Conclusion. We have briefly discussed the 3 essences of ethics in our lives, namely social contract ethics, value ethics as well as care ethics, and how they can be a good stepping stones in our pursuit for good and a happy life. We also have touched on the concept of freedom, Jean-Paul Sartre's interpretations on it, and freedom in a more modern setting. We conclude that the general essences of ethics and concepts of freedom are critical in guiding us throughout our lives, and we ought to do and decide what brings the best outcomes for us all.
We have come to the end of our presentation. Thank you for listening. We are Group 4 signing out.